Hi guys, this is Anna and welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to start closing all of the gaps I have regards to the books I've read in 2017. So in this video in particular I'll talk about the second half of the books I read in the summer and the books I've read in September. I decided to roll them into one because many of the books I have mentioned before, and I'm going to leave the link if I have. They either been like the best books I've read, so I already talked about them in December, or they were the worst books I have read, or I have made a separate review video on those books, so there is no point repeating them there. So to guide you towards those videos, the two books which went towards my disappointments of 2017, let's just get them out of the way. I have read two of them, one in full, one I just had to DNF. The one I have read in full was The Tulip Fever, the book which was later turned into the movie last year, and I really didn't like it. Not as much as I hate it, and that's the one word to describe it. I absolutely hate it, not even detested. Shantaram. So both of those books, I'm going to leave a link to my disappointments of 2017. Also, in August, I have read the book I absolutely loved. That was Donna Tartt's The Secret History. I adore this book. I love the writing style, I love the subtle humor, I just love the literary references. Pretty much everything about this book. That was 5 out of 5 stars for me, so it is in my top 10 books I've read in 2017. I'm gonna leave a link to that. And then I have also made quite a few videos, starting with all the Shakespeare I have read sort of end of August and September, and the Shake Tubes. I have a whole playlist to that. So I have reread, in a chronological order, I've read The Taming of the Shrew, Julius Caesars, Richard III. I've also read The Merchant of Venice and The Midsummer Night Dream. And by that point I was so pregnant, I just could not face reading anymore. So all of those videos are in a separate playlist. And I have also made two separate book reviews. One to the Bratья Karamazov by Fyodor Mikhailovich Dostoevsky, and one to the Romanovs, 1611 to 1918, the history or the intimate history of Romanov family. So all of those videos, I'm going to leave the link down below. In terms of what I have never mentioned on my channel, there are some other books and I'll go through them. Many of them I have read electronically, or I have read them on the paper and then passed them to my mom, so I don't really have them, and one of them has not been translated into English, so I'll mention it really briefly. So I'll start with the ones I actually have physically. I have read in September, and I have mentioned this a little bit before on my channel, The Idiot by Liv Batuman. She's an American author of Turkish descent, and I have this in a large font edition, so I'm showing to you because this book is not fit in my house. I didn't particularly like it. I can appreciate that the author absolutely loves Fyodor Dostoevsky and she likes his work, The Idiot, but as a person who has recently reread The Idiot, the original The Idiot, this is a very poor attempt. It made me feel like, why am I wasting my time? Did I care about the heroine of the story? No. Did I like the writing style? It was interesting. I mean, it is nice. I like books about university settings. I like to read about coming of age stories, growing up stories, sort of realizing who you are as a person, maturing. This is kind of my beloved area, and for that reason I picked up the book originally. So we meet this little girl. She's a freshman at Harvard. She doesn't really know what she wants to do. She keeps changing her mind about her major. She meets random people on the campus. She decides to sign up for the Russian language for freshers, the beginner course, where she meets some Eastern Europeans and she falls in love with this guy, which for the life of me I cannot understand why she loved him. But then again, maybe I'm just much older and I've never been a romantic in that sense. Will I recommend this book? I'm not sure. It's not for everyone. Some people absolutely love it, some people don't. I fall into the latter category, so it wasn't really the read for me. Another book I have read in August, this is Ian McEwan's Atonement. I was a little bit reticent about reading this book because it's my second Ian McEwan and I didn't really like the book I read last year, which was The Nutshell, his most recent one. This, however, is his most known work, I would say. It has been shortlisted back in 2001 for the Man Booker Prize. It has been turned into a movie. I did not watch the movie. I don't think I will, because I don't like Keira Knightley to start with. But did I like this? Yes. I liked it, but I'm not in love with this book. To me, what really makes the book this time around is the language. It's much more believable. It's a period set piece. It's set on the precipice of World War II, so it starts in 1935, and the language is very much reminiscent of the time period, which I thought was really well done. It was very, very English in its setting. I like the part that a large chunk of the book is devoted to one day, one single day, and you get to see different characters through the eyes of a teenage girl, basically, a younger sister. I'm not going to tell you the plot because I'm pretty sure most of you do know it, and if you don't, I don't want to spoil the plot for you. It's very, very easy to read. It is believable. Parts of it are a little bit overly sentimental, deliberately so for me, but I'm not going to criticize it too much for it. Do I think about this book now? It's been more than 4 months. Very rarely. But I remember about it fondly, where the nutshell is just still great on me. I found it very easy to get engaged with, and I probably read it within 2 days. So I think I'll keep this. And then the other book I have a physical copy of, I'm not sure I'm going to keep. And this is Ann Tyler, A Spool of Blue Thread. I've read it because I'm trying to read all of the shortlists for the Man Booker Prize, and this was nominated back in 2015. And it makes me wonder why. I'm not a big fan of this book. This is 3 out of 5 for me on the Goodreads. It's another saga about the family set in America. I prefer The Correction by Franzen. I think Corrections is a much stronger book compared to this. We meet a dysfunctional family which is falling apart at the seams. We're trying to see how the life goes through the ages, and different chapters are set in different time periods, so you see different generations of the family, from the modern to the older one. Did I find it an easy read? Yes, this was extremely easy to read. It's a very, very simple English. You get into it, you can read this in a day or two. Just absolutely run through it. But it's been several months since I finished it, and not once have I thought back to this book, which means it didn't really leave much inside me, and that's not a good sign for me. For me, if I can't remember about books much, I remember the plot, but I don't think about it at all. There's nothing which reminds me of the book. That's not a good sign. Personally, I don't really understand why it has been shortlisted. There were much stronger candidates in 2015, which I've already read. So it could be because Antalya said it was her last story she's gonna write. I'm going to pick up and read maybe 1 or 2 other stories by her just to make up my mind what kind of author she is. But this one, to me, was just bland. There was nothing new about the writing of this family. Just like any other dysfunctional American family or any other family. Is it worth dedicating the whole book to them? I'm not so sure. Right, I'm quickly going to mention a book I have read in Russian, which made a lot of noise a couple of years ago in Russia when it was published. It still has not been translated into English. I think it will. It's called Zuleyka открывает глаза, or Zuleyka opens her eyes. And it's a debut novel by a young Russian female writer, written in Russian. I had a paper version of the book, but I gave it to my mom because I was not a big fan of this book. I mean, I didn't hate it, I didn't love it. It was okay. To me, it was very similar to the Underground Railway, which I read last year, which again, I wasn't a big fan of. There is a place for violence, in my opinion, but I don't understand when people just put it into the book just to make a point. It's deliberately over sentimental, and I saw no character progression, which for me is a huge no-no. If I don't see character development, I lose interest. But I think it might actually be translated into English for a very simple reason, which is it is very widely read in Russia at the moment. Right, the books I have not mentioned, I'm gonna start by talking but 2 crime novels I've read. I finally decided to start reading the Smiley series by John le Carre because his most recent book was published last year and I want to read it. So I picked up the first 2 in the series. First one is The Call from the Dead and the second one is Murder of Quality. I liked both of them. I particularly liked The Call from the Dead because it was actually a spy novel, where the Murder of Quality was sort of more of a crime mystery set in England in a boarding school. But because it was set in a boarding school, like in a public school, I was quite interested about it. But The Call from the Dead was a proper one. And then back in December, I've read the 3rd one, so I'll talk about it in a separate video. I do like it. I do like the writing style. I do love the language. So I will probably pick up and read the rest of the Smiley series really slowly. Obviously, the Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, like all of them, but I want to read them chronologically. I've also read, and I have not mentioned on my channel, A Lincoln in the Bardo back in August. And that's the book which won the Man Booker Prize of 2017 last year. And I'm kind of on the fence about this book. I know that so many of the booktubers made separate videos about it and they all sing praises to the book. To me, I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm not wild about the book, but I don't hate it either. I found the writing style quite interesting. I like the multitude of voices. I think the audiobook would be amazing. I've heard there is an audiobook of that which was recorded by all of the friends of Saunders. So there's like 120 characters and they're all read by separate people, including some famous actors. So might be worth checking that one out. I've read it electronically on the paper and I really enjoyed it, but I did not emotionally connect with it. It's supposed to be a book about grief. It's supposed to be a book about loss and a father dealing with this when his young son dies. And I did not connect emotionally. To me, that was an exercise in a writing style, which was a new thing. It was a new way of bringing up the topic. So I admire that, and I've read it and liked it for that reason. But I didn't feel anything reading this book, and it's a little bit sad for me. I read John Saunders before. I've read his short stories and I prefer him. I find him funnier and more gritty and more gripping in them. But in his debut sort of longish work, I just did not connect with it. And it's such a topic which is supposed to grab you and pull at your heartstrings, and it didn't happen for me. So I don't know. I can see why it won the Man Booker Prize. I can see why a lot of people talked about this book. It's definitely different and stands out, and I commend it for it, but it's not for me. So yeah, I think that is finally it for all the left of the books I had read in August and September. So in my next video I'll talk about the books I've read in November and quite a few books I've read in December. So I have 2 more videos just to close 2017. And there will be some book reviews I'm also shooting coming up on separate books. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Happy reading. Bye.